Okay, boomers, we are settling the debate. Was it easier to purchase a property 30 years ago compared to now? And this time, I'm bringing receipts and the data. Welcome back to the She Owns This podcast. I'm Nefe.
And I'm Stevie.
And we're financial advisors that believe women should own more of the country and more of the world. And we're going to show you how to do it. Now, Stevie, in this episode, I want to settle the debate because I've had up to here, hearing people tell me that back in my day, it was really, really hard to buy a property and oh my goodness, interest rates were 10 to 15%.
Oh my goodness.
So you guys have got it easy. And so I'm bringing receipts, I'm bringing data, I'm over it. And I'm going to try not to get too emotional about it.
I don't think that's going to work, but I'm excited to see the passion come through and us to do some maths.
As you can tell, I'm off to a good start. Okay, but before we rip into it, let's talk about the challenge. Last week, we were talking, our challenge was to really think about our goals and decide, okay, what type of investment do we need? Is it for capital growth? Is it for cash flow or something else? How did you get on?
Yeah, really good. I'm better with big picture stuff. So I know all of my assets are growth assets. That is what I want. It's interesting though, because I've got a share portfolio and I get alerts for dividends all the time coming in, and I do not invest in specific shares for dividends. That is just not something that is of interest to me, or, you know, it's not something I prioritize. And yet I get that email and there's this little like, oh, that's a bit more than normal. Oh, getting some dividends in here. It's really funny getting quite caught up in that because I can see why people do get caught up in it. I can see why you start focusing on that. And it's like, that means nothing to me because all I want is growth at this stage of my life. So I've got the right assets for what I'm trying to achieve, but I do get caught up a little bit in that sometimes.
I think that's normal though. Our lives revolve around money and finance and stuff. So I think it's easy for us as well to always like be all over it kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got some friends as well who are talking, you know, they're dividend focused with their shares. And so you get a little bit caught up in that. But it was nice to sit back and be like, okay, what am I actually trying to achieve? Yep, I've got the right assets for that. Great. Now I can move on.
Yeah, cool.
How'd you go?
Yeah, I think similar to you, my job right now as part of me building, you know, my husband and I's wealth over the years is to focus on properties that are going to be more effective at building our net worth. Cash flow's fine right now. Like, isn't that lovely? But to be honest, that's just going to get absorbed into my lifestyle.
Yes.
Really, what I want is to build my net worth for the long term, and growth properties, so your townhouses and your standalone homes, are going to be the best type of investment for me.
And that's the same with your shares as well. Your S&P 500, you're all growth.
I am all growth and equities, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Which is probably not the most balanced way to do it, but there we are.
Hey, always get personalised financial advice.
Yeah. Don't take my advice. Okay, so own it. This week, this is a data-driven comparison of what it was like purchasing a property 30 years ago compared to now. It's education time.
So when you were crunching the numbers here, what was the most important number for you to crunch to decide, like, unilaterally?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. I pick up what you're dropping down. So kind of what is the data that we're looking at to make the argument to say, actually, the landscape's fundamentally changed?
Because you can look at interest rates.
We could look at interest rates.
If we just looked at interest rates, right? Yep, it's easier.
Yeah,
interest
but
rates
it's
are lower.
not really an accurate picture.
Why?
Because sure, interest rates were 10 to 15% compared to now, which they might be 4, 5, 6, 7%, you know, a couple of years ago. But what about the debt levels?
Okay.
What about household income during that time? Like, what about cost of living during that? So you need to actually, there's other things we need to look at as part of deciding whether it was easier or harder. And that's what I'm here for today.
Do you know what inflation was doing 30 years ago?
Probably still, not using a swear word, going up. Still burning a hole in my pocket.
Okay, tell me about the data you've crunched. Talk me through it.
Okay, so yes, in the 1980s and in the 90s, mortgage rates in New Zealand were about 10 to 15%. However, you know, the loan was a lot less. You could buy a house for $80,000 to $100,000. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing the fact that interest rates were bloody high. And the same in the UK as well. They were really high, but the loan was much less than what it is today, where the average house price, say in Auckland, for an example, is $800,000 to $1 million. And you tell me what's more expensive, Stevie, 5% on $1 million or 10% on $30,000.
Very dramatic example, but I see where you're going with that.
Emotional.
But is that just inflation? You know, like, is it all relative to incomes?
So perfect. So yes, this is a really good question because yes, you can say, well, what about incomes? The thing is, when you look at the data, incomes have simply not kept up with the rate of which the prices of properties have increased. So for an example, I've actually got the data here. In the 1990s, the average New Zealand home cost about 3 times the average household income compared to today, where it's about 10 times the average household income.
Okay, that makes
Let that
sense.
sink in.
That took me a second because I was just thinking of debt to income ratios and I was like, we've got caps around debt to income ratios, which are sitting at between 6 and 7 and most are sitting around 4, but that's debt rather than value of property.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that does actually make sense. So that's quite an astonishing difference. And so the question is it, I'm not going to dig into whether it's going to continue like that actually.
Well, the thing to think about is, okay, one thing I think people need to ask themselves is, okay, how long would it have taken you to have built up that deposit?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Compared to today. Like I remember when I was purchasing my first property, me and my husband could not keep up with the rate of which houses were going up. We really could not save fast enough.
Because what year was this that you guys were saving up-ish?
Well, I mean, between 2017 and 2020. But
in Auckland, right? So things were cranking at that stage.
Cranking. Like we just could not, like there was nothing for, 600,000 in Auckland back then. It was ridiculous. So for the average person that's buying their first property, a deposit's like $150,000, $170,000.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, what 20-year-olds got that unless they're getting help?
Yeah, exactly. And that is like there's so many avenues we can go down, but average age of purchases going up.
Yeah.
Like it makes complete sense. We've talked about in previous episodes about more people wanting to do joint ventures with friends and family as well, because these pooling of resources is, I think, going to become more common as things get harder.
I completely agree. And here's the thing, like before we start going more like, oh, well, it's all relative because I was only on $50,000 per year when I bought my first home. Think about, you could live off one income and you could have a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah. Oh, the dream.
Yeah, today that is just not possible. It is really rare for me nowadays when I'm meeting up with clients to meet a family where the partner, whoever that stay-at-home parent is, has the luxury of being able to stay at home and not work a full-time job.
Absolutely. It is really rare, and there's a lot of sacrifice that has to come with that. The other thing I was thinking about is deposits.
Yeah.
Not only was the house cheaper, but you didn't even need a 20% deposit because LVRs didn't exist until actually very recently.
Yeah.
And I remember pre-GFC, there were a whole bunch of situations where you would get 100% lending for a property, which, like, you think about it now, it sounds like the Wild West.
Literally.
But it was like just normal, right?
The landscape has changed.
Completely changed. And GFC, as horrible as it was, actually made some really good changes for the lending environment, but it also made it harder because now you need often a 20% deposit, sometimes less depending on your situation. But before, you could get 100% lending, again, based on your situation, or 5% on a cheaper home.
Yeah. And you can self-declare your income.
Oh my God, the self-declaring of income.
Like, I'm on 100K.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a contract overseas.
Just take my word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
Have you ever seen that movie, The Big Short?
Yes.
And they were determining whether there was a housing bubble or not.
Yes.
And there was that stripper that was like, or was it that the debt collector came to the house and the house was under the dog's name? Isn't that the craziest thing?
Yeah, my house is owned by Poppy the cat. Absolutely.
So I think like you can't just look at interest rates alone. You need to look at things like household income, the rate, like the house value to household income ratio. So 3 times your household income versus nowadays 10 times your household income, the rate of which you can save that deposit. And then you've got the cost of living as well. So like I said, you've not got the same, I think, pressures as we do nowadays where we actually can't afford to have one parent stay at home for work.
No, absolutely not.
The money mirror. So how do we find parents helping their kids into property these days?
One of the goals that I hear all the time for clients when I sit down with them is I want to help my kids out into their first home. Now, their kids are probably 5 or 10, right? But it's like, hey, this is really important to me. And then we dig into, well, what does that mean to you? What does it look like helping your kids out? And often they don't know what that looks like. And I was having a chat with some clients the other day. I'm like, let's dig into it. There's lots of ways that you can help your kids out into a home. And from one extreme to the other, and I have heard and seen all of these, by the way. So none of these are wrong. Everyone's just a little bit different. One end, they buy a house for their child.
Yep. And they just hold it.
Yep. So this house is for you. We're going to hold on to it. We're going to try and reduce the debt through a variety of ways. That property is yours. You can take it. It can be your investment. You can live in it, what have you. Other end of the spectrum is, hey, we didn't get any help, so you don't get any help. It's a good lesson in working hard. Now, where most people sit is somewhere in between. And so I want to talk about that in between part. What I see quite a lot is parents being like, well, I'm going to gift them a 20% deposit. So the good thing about that is, hey, you are in a position where you can buy a property, and isn't that amazing? You need a job to be able to service that debt, and you're still going to have a mortgage. You're still going to have everything that comes along with being a property owner without having to wait like 10 years of saving to get there. So that's awesome. The other side that I'm seeing a lot more commonly is matching deposit savings. So
yes,
for every dollar you save, kiddo, we'll put in $1, or we'll even put in $1.50.
I've got a friend that did that, hey.
I love that.
I think it's brilliant.
And I think like you and I, there's similarities around how we were raised with money. So it's not a surprise that we're both like, that's the way to do it.
The one.
But it's a motivation to be like, hey, you're not on your own. You're still going to have to save. You're going to have to show me that you're saving, that you're working hard.
Yeah.
But actually I'm going to make it a bit easier. And we're going to put in, let's say half of the deposit for you. So it's that motivator to be like, we're doing this together. We're collaborating on this to get you to this goal. You still have to work hard though.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I think it's my favorite. I've seen it be really successful with some of my friends when they were getting on the property ladder, where they were, for every dollar that we put into the savings account, our parents will match it.
Because
Genius.
also it's like inherently you are encouraging conversations about money as well. It's like, you have to talk about money in that case because you're doing it together. It's like, let's work together. Let's compare notes. We get to a 6-month mark and be like, how are we doing? Let's check the account. It's exciting, and they're still working hard. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know that you have a managed fund set up for your son and you contribute, was it $5, $10 every week into it?
$10.
Now, is there a plan for that? Are you planning to help use that towards a deposit, or is it for an OE trip? Like, what's that for?
It's a really good question, and I talked to my lawyer about this as well because my partner was like, right, we need to lock it in until he's 25 because 18-year-olds don't know what the heck they're doing with money, and there's a fair point to that. But actually, because we have done it under his IRD number, it is legally his money. Because we're guardians, we look after it until he turns 18. And so that is going to be we're going to talk to him about it as he's growing up to be like, we have this for you. We want it to be for either your home, study, moving overseas, whatever that big life event is, because who knows if any of it's going to work, right? Like he may not have any interest in buying a property, and that's okay, but he wants to go live in Tuscany for some reason because I made him watch Under the Tuscan Sun too much when he was a child, and then he does that, and then he's like, Mum, come live with me in this beautiful Tuscan village.
And you'd be like, of course, I have this money set aside for that very moment. This is
what I want. Perfect. No, so I'm trying to be really open to whatever is important to you as a young adult that's going to shape, your life. There's money set aside for you there.
When you purchased your first home, was there a moment where you realized, oh, crap, like the goalposts really have moved for us?
In regards to can we afford it?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah. So when I was looking at, this is so funny. It seems, the market's changed a lot. So when I was looking at property, I had a budget of $600,000, which felt like the most insane amount of money because I was like, that is over $500,000. And I'm 20, how old was I? 24?
Yeah, that's mental.
I was like, ooh, that's a lot considering I've only ever, I think the highest I had earned at that stage was $65,000 a year, which I was like, I am winning. Like
I am chilling.
Like that is amazing because I'd worked really hard to get to that point.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, $600,000. But in Wellington, that was nothing, like to buy a property at that stage. So it was this really, really hard conflicting moment where I was like, I am putting every dollar and cent that I can into this. It's probably not going to be enough. I'm probably going to end up with a small leaky home somewhere on the hills because it's Wellington. And it was really hard to figure that out. Now, I ended up calling a parent and saying like, any chance like you could put in, I think I asked for $10,000 just to like really bump that up, and that wasn't going to be possible, which was fine. So that was a bit more of a motivator to say, well, okay, really need to knuckle down. What is this going to look like? Having a chat with my mortgage broker again. We ended up going in, I think we had a 15% deposit rather than 20.
Yeah.
We talked about that low equity margin that we were going to have, and actually it worked out fine at that stage. But there was definitely moments where I was like, oh, this is just not going to happen. Or it's not going to happen now, or it's not going to happen for a wee while. And again, like that was when Wellington started to crank. And so I felt exactly the same way. I'm like it felt like every week that we looked at Trade Me listings, prices were going crazy.
Yeah.
For like crap properties.
Yeah.
Real crap properties. So a very similar experience that you had around kind of chasing your tail and being like, God, we're going to miss out. I think that's the dangerous thing, right? When you're in a hot market, everyone wants to be in a hot market. And then when you are, it feels like you're not keeping up. It's real panicky. And it does, I think, sometimes change your ability to think pragmatically about the right decision for you.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I purchased my first home, finally, we ended up using a 10% deposit.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think in Auckland, at least at the time when I don't think there would be many first-time buyers at the time buying their first home with anything more than that, unless they got help from their parents.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the most common problems that you see when parents and children, come together and try and, like, parents try and help children out?
Yeah, all right. Well, we talked about this on the last episode, which was, how joint ventures and things like that. And a lot of parents, immediately they'll say, well, we'll just buy a house, and then you go onto the lending application and, whoop-de-doo, you've now got a property. Whereas there's some pros and cons to that that come with it, so, that we've talked about, such as being, assessed as if all of that debt is severally liable to everyone and solely liable. So I think that's a common one, though, is getting their kids involved in a purchase that might not be a good fit for the kid. I personally prefer seeing parents just do the mortgage top up and just gift that equity to them, and then rather than doing a joint venture. Otherwise, what you're doing, which is I've seen it many successful times where parents will just, the minute the baby's born, will start a managed fund, $5, $10 a week. Over the next 25 years, that's a pretty decent check.
Do you know what's crazy? So after these conversations we've been having, I went on to, because I literally, I mean, he's almost 2. I literally haven't checked his shares since we started it. And it's like insane how much money he's got.
Is it?
As an almost 2-year-old. Like, that makes it sound like it's a huge amount of money. But like, for an almost 2-year-old, I'm like,
this kid is rich.
Every time he's had like Christmas money or like whatever from his grandparents, I'm like, straight in there. Like, what else does it need to go to? And it builds up really quickly.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting because I'm like, man, we didn't have that, obviously. So I don't want him to be a trust fund baby. Very wary of that. But
do you think, like, as time gets on, so I mean, fast forward when your son's 20 years old, you're obviously on the trajectory of building your wealth. So your chances are you're going to be vastly wealthier than what you already are today. How do you feel about... Yeah, I mean, you've got the mindset, haven't you? So, like, highly likely that'd be the case for you. How do you feel about, like, letting your kids know how wealthy you are?
I think we're going to talk about money quite openly because that's important to us. I think I would be wary about saying, like, we're wealthy.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some connotations that come with that, especially for young people as well. And so I think we will talk openly about, because no matter how much we've earned or the position that we've been in, we've always been quite stingy with money and always been quite careful with money. I hope that that's still going to be the case, and talk a little bit about what sacrifice means and what you can get out of that, and teach him those lessons, as opposed to like, yeah, we've got heaps of money and isn't this great? Because everyone is making sacrifice. I've never met a client, wealthy or not, who isn't making some sort of sacrifice.
Good point.
So I think if we can talk openly about that and what our decisions have been and what that means for us as a family, that's a conversation I want to have. But I would never just say, hey, we're wealthy, ain't that great?
Do you know, to be fair, I suppose as well, if you get to a certain point, it's pretty hard to hide. Like, I like to think of myself just to be like, be real stingy and be like, oh no, we're broke. You know, oh, we can't afford anything. But like, at a certain point, if you're like, got a nice house and you're driving a Tesla, you can't be like, oh.
Are you going to get a Tesla?
Do you know, I'm not a massive car person. Like, I like a car that's like, okay. I'm not like a posh car kind of gal.
I'm a Toyota gal.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, Toyotas, the car they just keep giving.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a Toyota girl.
You say that weird.
You say it weird.
Okay.
Spill the tea. These are real conversations that we've had with clients this week. My tea. My 20-year-old client that's got $200,000
Bullshit.
in
Can we say
shares.
that?
Yes. That's what I said in my meeting with him.
Actual?
Yeah. My first words were like, can you just paint me a picture with how you are 20 years old and have managed to get nearly $200,000 in shares?
Please tell me that their parents started investing the moment he was born.
He was like, well, you know, and I was like, were you gifted the money? It's okay. Like, no judgment. I just need to know because I'm doing everything
Did he
wrong.
invest in Nokia?
He don't even. That's ridiculous. Like, what? No. Not
He did, didn't he?
No.
Tell
he just
me.
started investing as like a fetus. He just started real young.
How young?
Like, he would have been in high school.
He's 20.
I know. $200,000. And do you know what's really annoying as well? I'm like, wow, what amazing it is to start seeing this movement of like younger generation. Because I weren't doing that at 20. Definitely not doing
everything in there.
I was being a skateboarder.
You know, we should. Wow. Okay, can we get a clip of you on a skateboard for everyone to see?
I might have a video of me kick flipping.
Of you kick flipping? Could you actually do that?
I was an emo kid though, so.
Please tell me you had blue black hair.
Pink, but yeah.
You're joking.
Which it was, Stevie.
Okay. If anyone here is listening and wants to see this, please write in because I'm just one person and we need to gang up on her so we can all see this. We'll put it on Instagram.
No, I have an image to uphold.
No, you don't.
But yeah, so I was like, oh my goodness, this movement of all these kids coming in with like, man, it's so cool. How amazing is this? And then he told me that he's going to invest in his friend who's building an apartment block. And I was like,
you're smarter than that, buddy.
Come on. So like your friend who's probably also in his early 20s, trying his hand at being a developer.
He lives at home, eh? Should we move home? Is that the trick?
That's what I just moved out. So I could not bear I'm seeing a lot of people actually young staying at home longer.
I moved out at 15.
Right? Could not wait to leave. I lived in a van. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Is that our issue?
That's what we messed up.
We could have been so much.
We moved out too young. And these kids are going, hold on a second. The gears are turning. I'm going to stay. I'm going to invest throughout my 20s.
Mum and dad charging us $100 a week.
If that. The amount of parents that we meet, how many of them are charging their kids
here we
board?
go.
Never.
Alternative idea.
Never.
We invest in a commune.
Yeah.
We live together, share costs, and then invest.
Isn't that the joint venture thing that we tend to steer people away from?
Okay. We buy a big piece of, one of us buys a big
piece of land and develop.
No. Okay, here's the idea. We buy a big piece of land. One of us can own it. That's fine. I'll go buy a big piece of land.
Yeah.
And then everyone can like build a little minor dwelling on it. You pay for your own minor dwelling.
Yeah.
You give me $100 a week.
Yeah.
For services.
Right.
And then we just invest.
I mean, whatever is going to make me richer, I'll do it.
So everyone's heard that. I'm taking that as a yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go shopping.
Let's do the numbers.
All right.
But yes. So that was my real tea conversation with my 20-year-old that's got $200,000 living with his parents. Since he was 15. Decides to spend it all on an apartment.
I'm a little bit angry about this.
I know.
Good on them.
Especially when you could have literally bought a house in Auckland.
Good.
You chose an apartment.
Them. Wonderful.
What about you?
Okay.
Your tea.
So this week I spoke to a couple who chose not to invest because they were planning to have a baby.
Okay, well, okay, yeah, tell me.
So this is an interesting one, right? So they owned their own home. They're thinking about investing, but they were like, okay, so they're both working. They're both earning well. Borrowing capacity is really strong, but they're like, we want to start a family. Wonderful. So because we want to start a family at some stage, we're not going to invest because what's going to happen? If we do go down to one income, how long are we going to be off for? What's it going to cost? There's so many question marks.
Okay. So they're not like planning to have a baby in like the next like 10 months. They're like just at some point in the future.
So they're not pregnant yet. And
but surely this is the best time for them because
so it's a real interesting one and a really tricky one, right?
Yeah.
Because actually, if they're going to get pregnant straight away, and the tricky thing with this is you never know, right?
Yeah.
So you never know. It's a big question mark. Could take you a month. It could take you a year.
could take longer.
Could take longer. And so what do we do and what order do we do this in? So we talked a lot about it and said, well, you do need to invest because the goals don't align with what you've got going on at the moment, right? There's a big wealth gap there. So what order do we do this in? And at the moment, their borrowing capacity, and if you were to talk to the bank, the bank's going to say, I mean, you could get $1.5 million. You wouldn't spend that on an investment, to be very clear. That's far too much. But it's an example of actually you're in a really strong position to do something. And the thing is, we talked about it. And actually, if they were down to one income for a period of time, that'd actually still be okay. But it's that question mark and it's that unknown of what if we want to take longer off work and what does that mean? And so I know in previous episodes, we talked a little bit about how to actually budget for how much do you need, because uncertainty is the thing that drives indecision or the wrong decision in some cases, right? It's how do we know what position we're going to be in? So we've actually come up with a spreadsheet that I was able to send them to figure out, well, you need to know your numbers. How much is it going to cost to go on parental leave? Can you afford it?
Yeah.
The answer is probably yes in this case, not in every case.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to stop you from investing.
Yeah, because surely, like, even if they did go for, because you could, just because you can borrow, you don't have to borrow the full amount that the bank's going to say yes to, like you said. Surely, if you could just buy property that you're like, oh yeah, I could afford those top ups, and then if I get pregnant, then you've got 9 months to go. Okay, what are those top ups going to be? And save up that amount of money.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could prepare.
And also, there's so many other things to consider. They're putting extra into their KiwiSaver. They're putting extra into paying off their personal home. All of that is amazing and the right thing right now, but you can adjust those things. You can change that if your plans are changing. You don't have to sacrifice everything to have a baby and vice versa as well. So there's no universal right answer around like, do we invest or do we start a family? Sit down, map it out and get some certainty around what those numbers are, because I think it really is that uncertainty that worries people.
Yeah. Alrighty. So this week's challenge. I actually think on the topic of are properties more expensive or harder to buy now than what they were previously, we've used the argument that household incomes haven't kept up with the rate of which house prices have increased.
Yes.
And all that good stuff. I actually think it's a pretty good exercise to actually say, okay, what percentage of my income is taken up by my mortgage? Like, is it 20%?
Oh, yeah.
Is it 38%? Is it 60%? Because I think this will give you a really good idea of, okay, where's most of your money going?
Question
Yeah.
for this challenge.
Hit me.
Are we doing like the full mortgage and combined incomes with our partners, or are we doing half the mortgage and our personal income? Because I know we've got disparities in our incomes with our partners.
Let's do, total household income.
Okay.
But don't include investment property top-ups because that's investing. Just your personal mortgage on your own home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because what I think would be good is to have a benchmark of what's the average.
Do you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to do, because I live in my current home, but we're building a new home and I know what the mortgage is going to be. I'm going to do it for both, and then I'm going to probably cry about what my new mortgage is going to be.
Because is it like 7 times your income? 6 times your income?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Alrighty, well, that is a wrap for this week's episode. In this episode, we have learned that it is harder. It is harder to buy, okay? You've heard it here first. It is. Don't come at me at the Christmas dinner. You can all get wrecked. Okay, there's data, there's receipts to prove it. If you found value from this episode, you can follow us on Spotify, on Instagram at She Owns This Podcast. If you have any stories on how this conversation's gone with your elder relatives, let me know. I want to hear about it. You can DM us, email us on the She Owns This Podcast at opes.co.nz. Love to hear from you. Have a terrific bloody rest of your week. This is She Owns This. We're financial advisors. We think women should own more of New Zealand and more of the world. Let's bloody get after it.